Exactly, and that's why I wanted to have a role play during this tape series, because we're so excited about that concept. And I heard you do it together with one of my leaders just on an MLM cruise a few days earlier, and I said we have to get this on CD. So before we go into the actual role play, would you like to give some of the basics that is your belief, like how do you basically build a business? And you know you were talking about 5 steps of belief. Would you like to cover that before?
Sure. Okay. Well, I want to go back, Art, to one of the things you were just saying a minute ago. If all you had to do every day is go out and make friends, wouldn't life be great? Imagine if there was no worries, no concerns, and your whole goal in life is, I'm going to wake up this morning, I'm going to make 2 new friends. So you talked about that person who said the phone was so heavy, but if it was their friend they were calling back, there'd be no troubles. That's the key right there. Everybody says the fortune's in the follow-up. I might have to disagree to some degree with that comment. It's really not about the follow-up. It's about the introduction. If you truly like the person that you've had that initial contact with, are you going to call them back?
If you like them, you look forward to calling them back.
Absolutely. And I think that's the biggest part. You know, when I'm out prospecting people, here's what I've learned, and now what I implement. I'll go up anytime, anywhere, and I'll start talking to people. I'll be in a crowd, or I'll be in a situation, and I'll see you standing over there in the corner. And as I'm walking up to you, I'll look around and I'll find something to make an obvious yet, you know, half decent comment about, and judge your response to it. So I'll walk up to you and I'll say, man, this hotel room is pretty amazing. I mean, what's the story here? What's the trend? Now, your response is going to tell me if we're going to build a friendship or not. Because if you're not interested or you're antisocial, well, you're literally going to either just blow me off or not give me much of a comment at all.
Right.
That's my indication to stop. I actually just disqualified you from my process. You call it an interview. No, you call prospects candidates, and you do interviews. Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of like my interview. There's 2 ways you can respond to that. You can say, yeah, you're right, it is, and I know the conversation's over. You're not interested in corresponding with me. Or you can get right into it. You can say, yeah, this is the Art Hotel, and there's some amazing things. There's a helicopter downstairs. You really got to check it out. Come on, let's go see it.
Right.
Well, that tells me you want to interact. That tells me you qualify to go to that next level.
So that would be considered one contact. No matter if I just shut down, you got your 1 out of 20.
That's right, and I do that 20 times a day.
So that's what he does 20 times a day. It's not a whole 1-hour presentation. Just to be clear, 20 contacts a day. He's just contacting 20 people to see, do they fog a mirror? Somebody said, are they hot? Are they interested? Are they good at creating conversation? If you ask me that question, I say, yeah, I like this hotel because most of the rooms are big. It's a suite. Where in South Beach, you can spend a lot of money and get nothing for the room. So then conversation begins.
But so this might be an aha for somebody. I don't even realize this, but think about this for a second. If we want to sort of put a list of characteristics of great networkers on a piece of paper, it's going to be great personality, great conversationalist, loves to be around people, has a great heart. It's going to be all that stuff. You can determine that with somebody in 10 seconds. Just by walking up to them and saying something like that, and if they respond and jump into a conversation with you, they qualify. So the people, of all the people I walk up to, maybe 50% of them actually respond and I go forward from there. But those 50% that respond all have very significant potential to do this business because they're conversationalists.
I know yesterday we were driving back from the hotel in Oregon, and I was in the car and I tried to create conversation with the taxi cab driver. That guy was so negative and so upset, he shut it down. That guy was not a candidate at that moment.
And you disqualified him.
Absolutely, immediately. That's
I'm used to riding in taxis with Ken, and that was such an awful experience. He always gets them happy.
I guess he was responding to me. That was actually yeah.
Okay, but hey, that's a good point that we need to cover.
Yeah.
Because they do respond to you.
But do you ever have that happening to you? That you try to kick in that conversation and they actually don't treat you well?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And 2 things there. Number 1, there's always going to be people that are going to be like that. And that's why I start the recruiting process that way. I want to know as fast as possible. I want to disqualify people as fast as possible. I want to know that they're not going to be good for my business. And if somebody's got a bad attitude or doesn't want to have a conversation, they're not good for your business. They're going to be the people that are going to be constantly shaking the tree if they ever got in the business.
And those people still count in at 20.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. And the other part of it is that taxi driver, for example, he was having bad moment because of what happened right before everybody got in the cab. So he was responding. He might have been a really nice, happy-go-lucky guy, but at that moment he wasn't a candidate, and unfortunately for him, I'm not going to see him again today or tomorrow or the day after. So on one hand, you're also doing them a disfavor, because if you've disqualified them at that moment, it might be just because they're having a bad day. Or, you know, I guess we just have to let that go, right?
Well, you know, some things are beyond your control.
Right.
Because in that situation that you're in, that interaction, there is no way you were going to get that guy's phone number.
No.
And whether he's a good guy regularly or not, it doesn't matter. And if you push harder, you're just going to get him angry.
And I just mentioned that for those of you that are very, very compassionate. You go, oh, but you know, I want to recruit and sponsor everybody. Well, you only have a few minutes with each person, and that's their shot also, not just your shot, it's their shot.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I've done is I've gotten down a complete system to how I introduce myself to people, how I get there. And one of the mottos that I live by is ABC, always be connecting. So my whole goal in that 20 that we're talking about is to connect with people. And once I connect with them, I move on from there. So I never talk about the business or the product or the company in that first time together. I literally get right to the heart of the matter, build the relationship, get the phone number, and get out.
Which is so opposite of what ABC may be known for, which is always be closing. In which case you're talking about the product, you're talking about the opportunity, you're trying to close them. So always be connecting instead of always be closing. That's $1 million tip right there.
Well, just think about this. Let's say, regardless of where you are, I love what Michael Klaus says. He calls it the marketplace. That's everywhere outside of your living room where you're doing your business. If you're out there in the marketplace and you're out talking to people and you see somebody that you want to talk to or correspond with or to connect with, because you think there might be a chance it'd be good for your business. Well, regardless of where you see them, what they're doing, they didn't come there to be prospected. They didn't come there to learn about your products or your opportunity. I think that one of the reasons that most people have hard times prospecting and closing people is that somewhere in the process they've offended them. And the problem is, the most times you offend people, you'll never know it, because human beings don't want to get involved in each other's stuff. So they'll walk away thinking, man, Ken, what an idiot. I didn't come here to learn about that product. I'm just in the mall shopping with my daughter. But they'll never tell you that. So you have to, as you're prospecting, stay on the good side, stay away from anything to do with potentially offending them, and your results will go through the roof. So in order to do that, I just avoid bringing it up altogether in that first conversation.
Just the one moment you said, within 10 minutes or 5 minutes, I know if that's a good candidate or not. And there's a gentleman named Juan Carlos that was on the cruise here with us, an amazing networker, amazing magician, amazing musician. But one of the things that we know that we kind of came to a conclusion on the cruise was that Orion Sala, Ken Dunn, Juan Carlos, some of the great networkers in the profession, they've put in their 5,000 or 10,000 hours of interaction with people.
Right.
So they can, on a subtle kind of subconscious level, on a what's called the blink level, they can know. So if you're listening to this and say, Ken Dunn knows in 5 minutes, I could never do that. Well, through practice, you can start doing that, because you'll start picking up the subtle gestures that people give you when you respond to them.
I think they just don't know that they know. I think after listening to this tape, this CD, there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, I get it now. Because if I walk up to you, Art, and I start conversing with you, we've never met each other before, and I say something, man, that's a wild painting on the wall there. What is that?
That is wild.
Well, there you go. That response, I know in my heart that you're open to having a conversation with me. If you just look at me and say, I don't know, well, you're disqualifying yourself. If people would just accept that they're doing the business there and that they've actually just qualified or disqualified a candidate, they'll already be leaps and bounds ahead.
And it's through practice, because sometimes I'm not in the zone like you are 24 hours a day, and I need to get there. But when I am in the zone, and we all can hit a zone where we're talking to everybody, we're so excited, and in that 1 hour, that 2 hours, you can start to get so much competence.
Because that's one of the things that comes to my mind. I mean, 20 people a day, that must take you 20 hours.
No, it sometimes can happen within an hour or two. If you're all in. I mean, listen, do you like to make friends?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do you like to go out and be around people?
I love people. He doesn't like making friends in the morning, though.
I like making friends all the time.
Okay, so if you and I are standing outside of the hotel waiting for a taxi cab and there's nobody else around and that taxi is forever coming, is there a good chance that you're going to say something and start a conversation with me?
Oh, absolutely.
So could you do that 20 times a day?
Sure.
But you have to get out of your house.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You've got to get into the marketplace.
Okay, so let's chat really briefly about that. Right now, the world's cocooning, especially in the United States. People get in their car, to go to work. They're at work, then they go in their car to come home. They're at home, they get on their computer, they watch the TV. That's the lifestyle for a lot of people.
Right.
So how would you connect with 20 people in that?
I don't want those people, first of all. Those people would probably end up being in that category the same as the person who doesn't respond in conversation.
Okay, so you're looking for people that naturally are around people.
That's right. Okay. Naturally are community-based people.
But you did say one thing, and that was just sitting on a cruise, you went, oh gosh, it's 10 o'clock, no, I gotta call California.
Oh yes, absolutely. So the 20 people number for me a day is extremely important for a number of reasons. I know that if I'm going to build a team that's going to grow, I have to set the example. And anything that you say that comes out of your mouth that is not 100% accurate, well, that's going to be discovered eventually. Mm-hmm. You people will see that, and that'll destroy your credibility. So there has been the odd time where I'm keeping track or counting in my head, and by 10 o'clock at night, I've only called 11 people or been in contact with 11 people. And I literally, I live by 20, so I'll be on the phone at 10 o'clock at night calling California real estate agents, starting conversations with them on the phone until I've interacted with 20.
And look at, just to give you perspective, what Ken's done in 6 years is very rare. Very few people in a matter of 5-6 years have gone out and created a significant 7-figure annual income. So, you know, the activity drives the behavior, the activity drives the result. And I think it's important to kind of just
So
notice.
sometimes the conversation you start is calling target markets or calling leads that are generated so that you don't every day have to get out of your house to go to the mall to meet people.
Right, oh yeah. But what you have to understand is how you do one thing is how you do everything. So that same interaction that I had with you standing beside the hotel where the cab's late, and I say, oh gosh, you know, cab's late today, but at least it's a nice day, don't you think? And we start that conversation there. Well, I'll start that same conversation on the telephone. I'll call up a real estate agent in San Francisco and I'll start the conversation by saying, hey, I got your name from the internet. I see you're a real estate agent in San Francisco. How long you been doing it for? And if the real estate agent, first thing they say in return is, why are you calling me? I'll say to them, well, I'm not really looking for real estate agents. I'm looking to get people to help me start a business in California, and I found your number on the internet. You got a few minutes to talk. I'll be right to the point with them, and they'll say yes or no. And if they say, yeah, sure, great, I've qualified them, they're interested in a correspondence with me right there on the phone, and it's fine. Here, see, I've got this rule. I'll never, ever introduce my product's opportunity in the business in a conversation unless it's a telephone conversation that I initiate. So that covers me off on everything. If you and I meet in the shopping mall, I'm never going to mention the business to you there. But I am going to call you back 2 days later, and that's where I'll introduce it. However, if I just get your number on the internet, well, that's the first call. That's where I'm calling you, so I'm going to mention the business to you right there. Because it's the least likely place where I could offend you. You're on that telephone to talk to me because I've called you. I didn't interrupt. Well, I might have, but you picked up the phone, as opposed to some other type of scenario. So,
just to be clear, but at the mall, you did initiate the conversation. You probably reached out and started to talk to somebody.
Right, but I did it in a soft, gentle, friendship, relationship-building manner. I didn't start talking about my business.
Where they're shopping and they're really not in the mode of, I'm a real estate agent, let's talk business.
Right, exactly.
Right.